Okay, here we are. Right. Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon, actually. Good afternoon. I've just got to check that everything is running from my side. Can you guys hear me, etc.? Again, another new location today, so apologies if things don't run quite as smoothly. But we just want to do this. We want to get this out and do this for you guys. I think we're live. I think we're good to go. Can I see you in the chat? Here we go. Oliver Smith, Techers, how you doing? Albie, how you doing? Huey, how you doing, mate? How is everyone? How is everybody doing this morning? Well, this afternoon. I keep saying this morning. How is everyone? We've got a lot to chat through. It's been a bit of a hectic morning, but it's Spurs during the summer transfer window. So what do you expect? What do you expect? How is everybody doing? You can hear me. Perfect. How is everyone? Right, it's been a bit of it's been a busy morning, like I said. A lot to get through, a lot to talk about. Make sure to like the stream, make sure to subscribe to the channel. What the hell is going on with our transfer, says Stephen McKay, but we will get right into that. We know it's Tottenham in a transfer window, right? We know it's not going to be simple. We know it's going to be complicated. And this morning, I think we've definitely seen that. Simeon says, I'm late. What's happening? We've just started, mate. You're not late. You're all good. You're all good. We've literally just started. And anyone who's watching this after the stream as well, make sure to like the video. Make sure to get your comments in as well on that for anything that we talk about. So let's get straight into it. So the morning started. I woke up this morning, feeling good about Solanke. Feeling that after what we heard yesterday, we're going to get this one done. But when we wake up to this, Spurs have a concrete interest in Ivan Toney. No bid or movement of note on Dominic Solanke yet. Now, this came out from Ben Jacobs. I believe there was also word from TalkSport on this. TalkSport also yesterday were quite adamant that there hadn't been any movement made on Dominic Solanke yet at this stage. Spurs had an interest, but nothing was really going on. But there has been more word this morning about Ivan Toney. Now, I'll be honest. Before everyone starts panicking about this, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this at all, if I'm being honest. Is Ben Jacobs reliable, says Josh Hayden. Ben Jacobs, I think I'm pretty sure there'll probably be some tweets out here that kind of label him a tier 1 source, right? Whatever that kind of means. Ben Jacobs is a reliable journalist, but I'm not sure whether his Tottenham stuff has been that reliable in terms of transfers. So who really knows? Who really knows? Ash7 says Ben Jacobs and TalkSport posted this at the same time. Alex Crook also reported this on TalkSport. This tells me they're being fed the same BS, which I agree with. I agree with this. I think I've got a few different kind of theories about this. Is partly one of those theories comes in the sense that let me see if I can find this tweet. I'm pretty sure there was a tweet from last week on Sky Sports News that said that no club has made a move for Ivan Toney yet. Where is it? See how far back it was. It was last week. No club had made an official move for Ivan Toney. Here it is, yeah. This was on the 2nd of August. No club has even made an offer for Ivan Toney this summer. As it stands, he is set to stay at Brentford. This was reported on the 2nd of August, so a week ago today. To me, this feels like it's his agent trying to get him a move, trying to drum up interest from other clubs because, well, if Spurs are now in for him and Spurs are going to go for him, maybe that will click other clubs into gear a little bit. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, if I'm being honest. Look, I've always said, I've had a feeling this whole window that Spurs would make a move for Ivan Toney towards the end of it. That wasn't factoring in the Solanke move into question. This was just purely based off the fact that I thought Spurs would definitely go for Toney. So I don't. Look, if Spurs were to end up with Ivan Toney, I wouldn't be unhappy. Look, is there a world now where Spurs go and get both? If obviously we're not going to talk too much about Richarlison this stream, we talked a lot about Richarlison yesterday and his potential move to Saudi. That looks like it's something that is probably going to materialise now potentially. So do Spurs need to bring in 2 strikers, or are they just going to go with? Are they going to go with Solanke or Toney, and then Sonny through the middle as well, and Will Lancashire, who we know that Will Lancashire is someone that they rate very highly. They think that he can step up to the bench. So who really knows? But I don't buy anything to this. I don't think this is worth wetting your pants over. I can see some people in the chat saying this club is a joke, all this kind of stuff. I think this is purely gameplay and an agent talk. Paul O'Keefe said this yesterday, that I think Bournemouth are trying to calm the situation down because they obviously don't want to lose their prized asset. You know, I think I'm not buying this at all. Lee Fletcher said club putting out stories to get the price down on Solanke. I think there's probably an element of that as well, potentially feeding the media just down one path. Arjun says I want Solanke, I don't want Toney. Look, I'd probably be happy with either, but I think Solanke, if the striker position is your big focus and you want to go and spend the money there, I think Solanke is younger. I think he's probably a better fit than Toney, but I think Toney is also a good striker. But I just don't see this. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this at all, if I'm being honest with you. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of on the same wavelength. Harry says, what does now have a concrete interest even mean? Nothing story. There was this list. I don't know whether everybody saw this yesterday as well, of strikers that Spurs have been linked with since Ange Postecoglou. Or this was the list of strikers that Spurs have looked at since Ange has come in, and a certain someone's name came back on the list yesterday in Gift Orban. It was Ivan Toney, Victor Gyökeres, Lois Openda, Jonathan David, and Gift Orban. This was besides Dominic Solanke. So this is kind of going back to last summer. So these are all of the strikers that they've considered. So also to anyone that's sort of saying that Solanke is a bit of a panic thing and that they haven't had their eye on him for a long time, I don't buy into that either. I think Solanke was someone that we were starting to hear links with in April last year, towards the end of the season. Last season, not last year. So it's clear that they've appreciated him for a long time. So I don't necessarily think it's he's the second option or anything like that. I don't think that it really works like that at Spurs. But look, I think this is all a bit of a smokescreen. I think this is all smoke and mirrors. I think this is kind of game playing from all sides, really, including Bournemouth, including Tottenham, including Toney's agent to try and get him that move. I don't really see this, if I'm being honest. But you guys let me know what you think in the chat, and also who you'd rather sign. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily sold on Solanke yet, but I think Solanke is the perfect fit, if I'm being honest with you. As I said, there's a YouTube video on my channel if you want to go watch it. Make sure you watch that, kind of break it down in a bit more detail. But yeah, Alvin says we need a striker with great position in general football IQ. I think that Solanke is more developed in that field. I think Toney ticks some of those boxes as well. I think Toney ticks boxes that maybe Solanke doesn't. I think that Solanke ticks boxes that Toney doesn't. But I think it will end up being Solanke. I just think a lot of this is kind of just game playing, and I'm not massively buying into it, if I'm being honest with you. But we shall see. Because again, there have been many reports to the kind of contrary in terms of what Ben Jacobs and Talksport are kind of the outliers in this case. They're kind of the only people that are reporting this. A lot of the other people who kind of broke the Solanke news are quite quiet on it. So we shall see. So let's talk about Solanke then, because even this morning we had this from Tom Barkley. Tom Barkley is, I think, a journalist of The Sun, but I actually think he is quite reliable when it comes to Spurs. I know The Sun aren't necessarily the most reliable source when it comes to transfers. Excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of my cup of tea. But I believe that Tom Barkley has got some stuff right in the past. And also, he is not the only one saying this. This was this morning. Tottenham growing in confidence they will land Bournemouth striker Dominic Solanke this summer. So again, don't believe everything you read. Like, that is kind of the key message. And look, I think a lot of people are getting frustrated at this transfer window with Spurs because it seems like we don't know what we're doing. But I think sometimes the media can lead you down different paths and make you feel like that. Whereas I feel like there is kind of this clear plan in place in terms of what Spurs want to do. And I think Solanke is the man they want to get over the line. Kind of to the same tune as that as well, Gary Jacob. This was yesterday. There was a lot of stuff that broke after we did the stream yesterday about Solanke even more. Tottenham are increasingly confident of ending their striker search by signing Dominic Solanke this summer. So I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this, if I'm being honest. If I'm being honest with you, I think Solanke is clearly the one they want. I want to bring up, there was a little thread yesterday from Paul O'Keefe where he was being kind of bombarded with questions about when TalkSport yesterday first started reporting the fact that maybe there wasn't actually any talks for Solanke. I wonder if he said anything this morning. I don't think so. It was here. He basically sort of, or maybe it was Carly that actually tweeted this. I think she tweeted a screenshot of it. This was Paul O'Keefe. I think his reaction to a lot of the links, that were saying that we're not, there's no talks for Solanke. I think he was very much saying that that's not the case, and that we all just need to calm down a little bit. I think he was trying to say that. Where was his tweet? God, he likes fantasy football, doesn't he, old Paul? Bournemouth trying to control the media. I think that's part of it as well. I definitely think that. He said, "What's the deal with Alex Crooks saying we haven't entered talks with?" When Fab posted earlier, we have Bournemouth are trying to control the media. They obviously don't want to lose their prized asset. They're trying to spin the narrative that there's no talks. Look, this doesn't necessarily mean that talks have 100% taken place with Bournemouth. Although, let's just for clarification, let's just get up the tweet from Fabrizio Romano yesterday, so we can clearly know what was actually said. Again, we're not saying that Fabrizio Romano is necessarily the oracle, but he could be. He very much, he was kind of the one that posted about this last week. Talks are underway with Bournemouth. So again, what's being reported today is completely at odds with what we were talking about yesterday. So I'm quite calm on the situation when it comes to Solanke and Toney. I just think the Toney thing is just a bit of a smokescreen. It's just a bit of a smokescreen, if I'm being honest. Look, is there a world in which Spurs end up with both? I don't think so, but that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Really, what a transfer window that would be. Do Spurs need two strikers? It very much seems again like Richarlison is kind of on his way out the door. I can't see that happening in terms of bringing both of them in, but if they can get a cut price deal for Toney over the line towards the end of the summer and bring in Solanke as well, yeah. Alex Crook talking rubbish. There's Malachi. I'm with you, mate. I'm not buying it. John Osborne says, why can't it just be a simple signing either way? Because it's Tottenham, mate. It's Tottenham. Robert says, is Richarlison even taking full contact training? I don't think so. We know we've seen Destiny Udogie back on the pitch. We obviously know the lads that have come back from the Copa America and the Euros are on the pitch training. Harry says just because there are two clubs aren't talking to each other doesn't mean there are no talks. Paul O'Keefe said it starts between agents, reps, etc. They'll both be feeding back to both clubs. Nordiak has said look at Prem Insider. This is what I mean, guys. This was like yesterday. Yesterday we were doing the stream, and then this was when all the Solanke stuff broke with Fabrizio Romano. So there might be stuff coming live while we're doing this. Is it Prem Insider? Is that the? What's the? Is it the Prem Insider? No, I don't think so. What's the account called again? The Prem Insider one. Someone put it in the chat, please. Crook by name, crook by nature. Yeah, Lee, I'm with you, mate. I'm not buying it. Robert says, my gut tells me we were well down the line with Toney, but when their replacement striker got crocked, Brentford stopped talking. There is potentially some truth in that, although I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure. Alvin says, with the way last season went, it's quite clear that we should stay away from players that are injury prone like Richarlison. The Prem Inside, that's it. Okay, so worth talking about on the Prem Inside. Is this it here? Are they actually reliable? Tottenham have accelerated their interest in Ivan Toney. As it stands, Spurs are not willing to pay. Okay, well, they've gone with it. I'm not sure how reliable this source is, if I'm being honest. Who really knows? And again, what kind of goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about this morning with Ben Jacobs, he also broke this news. So he's kind of delivered a bit of a double whammy to Spurs fans that understand Emerson Royale is not a priority for Milan, who prefer to strengthen their midfield and attack. Again, we'll see if this has got any weight to it over the next few days. This one has dragged on for a long time. And look, if Spurs don't end up getting this deal done, it doesn't reflect very well. But again, it also was a case of, I think there's this perception with Emerson Royale that just because he's not the best player in the world, right, that doesn't mean that Milan weren't trying to lowball us, because they were. They offered 10 million in the first instance for Emerson Royale, and whatever you think of Emerson, he's not a 10 million pound defender. He's just simply not. So I think Spurs obviously have a fee in mind. I think people just have this idea in their heads of getting frustrated with Levy, getting frustrated with Lang. But if they have a value on Emerson Royale, it's the same way as if you want to buy a player, right? I know, because people are just desperate to get him out of the club. Hopefully, again, this is rubbish. I think we do need to move Emerson Royale on 100%, but hopefully this is rubbish. Someone said there's a more recent tweet from Last Word on Spurs. What is that regarding? Let's have a look at it now. Guys, make sure to subscribe if you're new, by the way. We've got like 250 people in here watching right now, which is great. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the stream as well. Mail Sport. Tottenham now believe they can bring in Bournemouth striker Dominic Solanke before the start of the season. Richarlison is expected to book his Spurs exit to Saudi Arabia, with a number of clubs circling. See, absolutely everything that's been reported this morning is at odds with each other. So the reality is, lads, we don't really know what's going on. We will not really know what's going on until we get either a here we go from Fabrizio Romano, or we get Dominic Solanke standing on the pitch at Tottenham doing his little arrow celebration. We ain't going to know. We aren't going to know one way or another. But in my head, I very much still think this Solanke deal gets done. Nothing that's really happened this morning has kind of made me think otherwise, or has necessarily kind of... I think it's all just a bit of game playing from all sides in terms of agents and clubs, just to throw one another off the scent. And I think Spurs are focused on getting this Solanke deal done. I'm going to put a poll in the chat now, lads. Which striker will Spurs sign? Solanke or Toney. We need an Orney bomber, says Malachi. Yeah, David Ornstein is very quiet on the subject, although I think he's been busy working on the Zubimendi deal, hasn't he? That looks like it's happening. He's going to Liverpool. 15 million for Emerson Royale is a bargain to anyone. He doesn't suit our system, but he works hard, is a team player, and is good across the back line if just told to defend. Mate, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with that. You cannot tell me that Emerson Royale isn't worth at least £15 million. Who really knows? Who really knows? But like I said, this was the tweet we got from Fabrizio Romano yesterday. This is what we talked about on the stream. A lot of other journalists went with this yesterday. I think Gary Jacob also went with this. Apologies if you can hear my dog barking, by the way. I can't find the tweet. There was just a lot. There was a big old... I think Matt Law also did like a piece yesterday that we'll go through and talk about. There was a lot in that... I can't find the actual tweet from Gary Jacob, but that's fine. I don't think he actually tweeted himself. I think it was from the article that he wrote. But yeah, this was it. Tottenham are increasingly confident of ending their striker search by signing Dominic Solanke before the start of the season. And I think I'm more inclined to believe Gary Jacob from the Times and Fabrizio Romano than Alex Crook or Ben Jacobs. So we will see. We will very see. It's going to be a very interesting last few days in the transfer window. We also heard yesterday that we've got a bit of a we've got some more this was from Fabrizio Romano as well this morning. Fabrizio Romano suggested Tottenham are expecting a busy end to the summer transfer window. I think this window, the end to the window for Spurs, is going to be incredibly chaotic. Like, this is going to be incredibly chaotic. I think it's probably going to be a little bit like last year in that sense. And I think a lot is going to get done, both incoming and outcoming. He said, with potentially an extra signing expected in attack alongside Dominic Solanke. Obviously, I think we heard a few weeks ago that Fabrizio Romano was saying that Spurs were going to sign one attacker. But I don't think that's the case, especially with Richarlison going out the door. I think it would definitely be two. Whether that's two strikers or not, I don't know. I think it'll be a striker and a winger. We'll come on and talk about Neto and Eze because we've got some updates there as well. He said, I think the main focus is going to be up front. They need one more offensive player, at least one. It could be two based on opportunities, but for sure Tottenham will be busy there. It very much seems like, I think, who knows, look, this stream could become, with the way that football media works and the way that things move so quickly, we could be in a few hours again talking about the fact that Spurs are very close to wrapping up a deal for Solanke, and that just shows that we just don't really know what's going to happen. So I think as much as it's frustrating, I think we've all got to just sit tight and be a bit calm on this. I think the reaction this morning has been like, well, Spurs don't know what they're doing. Nobody really knows. But I think you're being led astray by the media trying to put different things out there, and I think it's all a bit of game playing. So I wouldn't be too worried. I'm calm about this. I'm pretty calm about this. I think my initial reaction when I woke up this morning. Also, what's everyone think about this City kit? By the way, I quite like it. I was like, what is happening? None of us really know. Gary said it's all a smoke screen for Gyökeres. Look at the source and get on with your day. Jackie Nick out says just want us to sign a striker, and Eva say we're keeping or selling Richarlison. The situation is almost exhausting as the Kane deal last year. Mind Games FC. It's nothing but a Toney commercial straight on marketing. Yeah, I think I'm not buying it, lads. I'm not buying it, and I tweeted that afterwards as well. Not buying the Toney links, to be honest. No club has made a concrete offer for him yet, so it stinks of his agent trying to get other clubs to move for him. Seems Spurs are very focused on Solanke. He thinks also partly Bowman trying to control the narrative. I'm calm. And someone here, Skywalk FC, said Toney is definitely a deadline day signing deal for some team, and that's kind of what I thought would be the case with Spurs, but I think someone will move for him. Make sure you go and follow me on Twitter as well, lads, by the way. Over 2.5k now, nearly 3k. Jan Janis has said about the third kit. Me and my stepdad were talking about that this morning. Still no sign of that yet. And also go and watch the Solanke video as well. That's my last little plug for that video. But yeah, thank you to you guys for the massive support on it as well. It's my best ever performing video, over 15k now, so go and give that a watch. But look, none of us really know what's going on, do we? None of us really know. Big up Davina, by the way. I want to talk about this quickly as well, because this has kind of been brought to my attention. A lot of fans tweeting about this. Ted Trunk, obviously one of the goats of Spurs Twitter, me and him are going to be doing something soon. We were meant to be doing a podcast this week, but didn't quite happen. Go and make sure you subscribe and follow to Rule the Roost, his podcast. So this was an article from Richarlison that he wrote, I think, in the Players Tribune last year. This is my love story with the Brazilian team. I'm ready to fight again. Full content. This was last year. And I don't know why, but this has gained a lot of traction from Saudi fans who are kind of saying that we don't want you, basically. So this was to Trunk's tweet. State of the replies. Hope he's not forced out of the club into a hostile environment like that. He's shown that he can be a good player for us. If the club fancy being brave and adding Solanke to play alongside him in a squad sense, then we'd all be winners. So look at some of the replies, lads. Look, Al Ali refused to contract with you and do not welcome you and does not want you. Will boycott the club because of you. This. We respect you as a player and a person, but our Ali fans do not wish for you to join our team. All the stuff like this. These emojis. You are not welcome. Like, what is going on, lads? Like, honestly, what is going on? Dear Richarlison, we respect you as a good person and a great player, but we do not see the club's need for you. We will not be happy with you. Like, what am I reading? You know? Like, what is going on here? Look, I think, and you guys, let me know what you think in the chat and in the comments as well below if you're watching this after the stream. I just don't. This is bonkers to me. They don't like him because it's probably to do with his politics potentially. Paul O'Keefe said that he doesn't want to go. I really hope that, look, if Spurs, from a business point of view, and again, you guys let me know what you think in the chat. From a business point of view, if Spurs can get close to their money back, all their money back for Richarlison, then from a business point of view, then that you bite their hand off. You absolutely bite their hand off. But at the same time, I really hope Spurs aren't just forcing him out, because a lot of people would say, and you could make an argument to suggest that the way a big club would operate is to have two strikers of a similar level like Solanke and Richarlison to really compete with each other, bring the best out of each other. Obviously, we're going into a season in the Europa League. It would leave me a little bit worried if Richarlison was to leave and Solanke was to come in. I think Solanke is probably better than Richarlison, and I really like the signing. But I think that it's a lot to ask of Solanke, and it's also a lot to ask of Son, and it's a lot to ask of Will Lancashire as well. So I don't understand this, and I really hope it's not a case of Richarlison being forced out of the squad because they think they're going to get the money for him. Because I think Spurs could be in a really healthy place if they kept Richarlison alongside Solanke. But again, I don't want. Tyler's just said it there. I don't want him to leave for Saudi. He deserves better than that. Plus, it will break down Richie. You know, I think this is a case that this goes horribly wrong for Richarlison, and I really don't want that. I really don't want that for him. And look, football is a bit of a cutthroat business at times, but I don't. This would be this would be really upsetting, I think, if he was to go there and kind of receive that sort of treatment, because someone made a good point there. This is almost like reading the Spurs tweet about Solanke and reading some of the Spurs fans' comment section. A big club would bin off Richie, says LV. I don't think that's true. I think like Richarlison showed that last season he could be more than good enough for us. It's just a fitness thing. And again, if you bring in another striker that can take the weight off Richarlison a little bit, you won't find many better backup strikers in the league than Richie. I truly believe that. Look, from a business point of view, I think you take the money, but I really hope it's not a case of Richarlison being forced out the door and Saudi is the only place that he wants to go. Gary says Spurs don't necessarily want him out; they just would happily get their money back. I think that's definitely the case. That if someone comes in for Richarlison and offers close to the money, like I said, from a business point of view, Spurs would probably be mad to turn that down. But I don't feel that comfortable with it, I'll be honest. But we shall see what happens. But look, Richie, we all love you, mate. Some people in the chat might not, some people in the comments might not, but who knows? Guys, there is, at the moment, there is 317 people in there. This is the most amount of people I've ever had watching one of these streams, so I massively appreciate it. If you could just do me a favour and drop a like on the stream, that massively helps me out. Subscribe to the channel, there's going to be a lot more Tottenham content. I'm hopefully going to be doing my Tottenham season predictions today and getting that out for you this afternoon, although that might come over the next few days. Tomorrow, we are aiming to do a stream where what we're going to do is we're going to get the Spurs squad as it is now. We're going to get transfer rumours, we're going to get players that we want to sell, and we're basically in the chat, you guys and me together are going to help build the Tottenham squad for next season based on players that we want in. You guys are going to have your say with votes in the chat, so make sure to stick around for that tomorrow. We're going to probably be doing that tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you stick around for that one. That is going to be good fun. Let's move on, because someone who said that there... who said Nick from Venn, chances of getting Eze, is that deal interestingly Crystal Palace are apparently looking at bringing Wilfred Zaha back. Gary Jacob said in that big long piece, LV's accused me of being a happy clapper. That's nice, just for saying I like a player. You know, you can't do anything right these days. Although Tottenham like Chiesa, they do not want to meet Crystal Palace's demand for the bulk of the £60 million release clause to be paid up front, which has complicated a possible move. I think Finley says it right here. 60 million up front is an enormous ask for almost any club. Most 100 million transfers have to be separated into 25 to 30 million annual instalments. So it's a hell of a lot of money. I don't get that. Sorry, I got confused. I was reading something in the chat. N17 Stu, are you talking about me or are you talking about LV? Like this guy says, £60 million up front is an enormous ask for most for any club. It's pretty much non-heard of to pay like that amount of money up front. It's the same with Solanke, right? It's the same with Dominic Solanke. People are talking about the release clause, but that release clause won't be paid up front. It's just not how it works. Look, Bournemouth will try and hold out for that amount of money. There was a rumour that Spurs actually offered Crystal Palace more than the release clause for a more favourable payment structure. So, honestly, who knows? Who knows? Thanks, Stu. I thought so, mate. I just wanted to double check. Archie Parker says Ramona. Do you mean Romano? Is there something I need to be aware of here? Again, guys, you keep me updated in the chat if there's anything that we need to talk about and react to live. Doesn't look like there's been anything from Fabrizio Romano while we've been talking. But yeah, Eze, for me, look, who... nice one, Stu. I appreciate that, mate. It would be a hell of a lot of money to pay for Eze up front. Look, I think he's worth it. I think he's a cracking little player. But I just don't see Spurs activating the bulk of it up front. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to the end of the window. LV, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. Even if Man City would not pay £60 million up front for Eze, they just wouldn't do it. This is why I think Eze is staying. I think, look, I'm not saying that maybe City won't sniff around for Eze near the end of the window potentially, and try and get him out of Palace. But I think any club is gonna struggle to be able to afford that amount of money up front for someone like Eze. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, lads. So, yeah, we shall see. We shall see what happens. But It feels like maybe Spurs might be getting someone else for that left wing position or right wing position. And there was some chat yesterday about Pedro Neto. So Matt Law said Tottenham are interested in signing Pedro Neto, yet to make an offer to Wolves. Again, people are going to moan about this, interested FC, etc., blah, blah, blah. But again, I think Neto is clearly someone that's been on Spurs' radar for a long time. So, yeah, we shall see what happens with that. There was also this from... there was talk that... I think it was from Gary Jacob. I've lost it now. It might be on here, but they're about signing a left back. We'll come back to that in a sec, because I think there was a tweet, about Pedro Neto. There was also Solomon looking like he's going to leave the club on loan. Apparently, clubs in Germany and Spain are interested in him. We obviously got this news yesterday about Richarlison changing his mind. There was. I think it was in that article from Gary Jacob. It was in the Times here. Tottenham want to sign a winger and cover at left back alongside Dominic Solanke before the transfer window shuts. So, look, I'm pretty calm about the winger situation. It feels like we're probably going to get one across the line. I do think there's a good chance it'll be Pedro Neto, but we shall see. Spurs are obviously interested in him. Gary O'Neill has said many times that if a proper bid comes in for him, then he will go. They won't stand in his way. And look, I get that Spurs fans are getting frustrated, but it's worth remembering, right? It was only a year ago today that we kind of made our third biggest proper signing of the window last year. In where is he? Mickey van der Ven. Mickey van der Ven was signed a year ago today. So I do think this is the point where things start to click into gear for Tottenham over the next week or so. Obviously, Simon Cohen says, do Spurs know the season starts Monday week? I'm sure they're probably aware of that, mate, but I get your frustration. James Middlehurst says, hopefully Solanke, Neto and a defender. Yeah, I think that would be ideal. At first, my hunch on the left-back situation, or my sort of feeling on the left-back situation, that was maybe it wasn't necessarily a priority for this summer, but I actually think when you look at the squad in kind of the cold light of day almost, it's like it's actually quite glaringly obvious that we need another left back. I think that was something that I maybe it was a bit of an oversight maybe at first, but yeah, I do think that it was potentially a bit of an oversight at first about the left back, but I do think that is something that Spurs, we need competition for a doggy. I don't think we need that. One name that I would not be surprised about, and I think we're going to talk about this in the stream tomorrow when I do the squad kind of build with you guys. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on for when we do that. Is Kyle Walker-Peters, because again, what makes me say that is obviously these links to a left back. Obviously, we know Walker-Peters is predominantly a right back, but he's versatile enough to play on both sides. He's versatile enough to play on both sides. Sorry, I've lost my mouse there. Spencer left back could be an option, but the fact that Oliver Skip is expected to leave this month makes me think. Oliver Skip is probably a player that deserves to move on. Maybe he's not seen enough of a good option. I think he deserves to go and play football somewhere. And I think a move to a newly promoted club would be great for him. And I think from a newly promoted club's perspective, I think if you're Ipswich, maybe, that could keep you up. I know that sounds mental, and it's Oliver Skip, right? But I think Oliver Skip is the sort of player that could genuinely keep a newly promoted club in the league. He knows the league. He's versatile. He's a decent little player. He's a Premier League level player. But this does complicate things when it comes to the homegrown club train situation. I know it's boring. I know we banged on about it. But Oliver Skip might be a player that they need. And yeah, your deal says it there. Kyle Walker-Peters is essential because of Skip. He's club trained. LV says no to Kyle Walker-Peters. Trash. Okay, that's your opinion. Look, I'm not saying Kyle Walker-Peters is the answer, but I think it's one that might crop back up on Spurs' radar in the next few weeks. Rooty Toot says good name that made me laugh. We must stop thinking in terms of backups. We need a squad of strong players who can rotate with about a dip in quality. I agree with that 100%. We need competition, but you also, through competition, that does also create players being backups, right? They kind of exist alongside each other. If someone comes in as a backup, they're not being bought as a backup. It's just kind of how we refer to them, but they are being brought in for competition. So who knows? Who really knows? But I thought this was a bit of a weird one because, again, bear in mind, if it comes down to Kyle Walker-Peters versus Oliver Skipp for the squad, I think it's probably Kyle Walker-Peters in terms of, again, a lot of it hinged on Emerson. I think all I'm saying is that Spurs are kind of sailing quite close to the wind when it comes to the club trained homegrown. You've got so many people in here. Well done. Thanks, Archie. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, 400 people in here at the moment now. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We're very close to 3K subscribers on YouTube, which would be an amazing achievement. I only hit 2K last Saturday, so to grow 1,000 within a week, make sure you press that subscribe button. And if you're watching the video after the stream, make sure to leave your thoughts on everything that we've talked about in the comments as well. I reply to all the comments. Obviously, I can't keep up with all your chats necessarily because we've got so many people in there, which is amazing. So thank you all so much for that, guys. We will get there. But thank you so much. Paul O'Keefe, this was on Oliver Skipp. Someone tweeted saying the positive for Spurs is there's quite a huge overhaul quietly going on, which I think is something that's going a little bit under the radar. Seems Skipp would also go Solomon too, so very clear there's a willingness to dispose of those not good enough and put trust in younger players, which I think is important. I do think that is massively important. I think you don't want players like Solomon kind of maybe taking up the space of someone like a Mikey Moore or blocking that kind of path. Paul O'Keefe replied to that tweet saying, difficult with Skipp. Spurs don't really want to sell, so would need to be inflated money to make it worthwhile as they've got club trained issues. He himself just wants to play. I think Oliver Skipp would actually, if he stayed, I think he'd probably get more minutes than you think in Europe and in the Cups. I do think he'd probably get more minutes than you think. I think he probably got more minutes than we probably all thought last season. And I think this guy, I do think this guy is right. Potentially as well, Wozif says true, but he deserves to play regularly and have a good Premier League career. Not possible at Spurs. We have to take the club trained bullet, register less players in the Europa League and let him go for his sake. We should instead not loan out and play the likes of Donnelly, Lancashire, Moore and Devine. They are ready. This is something we're going to talk about tomorrow in the stream when we do the squad build for next season, because I'm going to do it a bit like we talked about the extra inch squad build speed run that we did, right? I've taken kind of the idea from them. I want to do it in line with all of the club train rules, so we make sure that we get everything right. And I think there is an argument to suggest that you leave some players out of the squad and go with the kids. I do think there's an element to that. Josh, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. I massively appreciate that. Keep up the hard work. I appreciate that very much, bro. Thank you very much. Alexander O'Donnell says, I can't lie, I kind of miss Bergwijn. Let's not do that. I think we talked about this in the stream yesterday about Bergwijn's link to Leicester. Could you imagine Bergwijn in the first game of the season scoring against us for Leicester? That would be an absolute disaster. Alex S says Devine, Donnelly and Lancashire club train plus a goalkeeper, so 4 of the UEFA Europa League. I think that will happen. I do think you're right, mate. I do think that maybe to try and get around the club trained issues, they go with a lot of the youngsters. Robert, I agree. I hate to turn back up the Ben's description if it makes sense. Yeah, look, LV, look, you said these backups are the ones who will be playing in those early cup games. For reference, we have been knocked out. Mate, I totally agree with you. I was at Fulham away last season, right? I get it. I do get it. I get your frustration. I think in terms of backups, it's just a common way to refer to it. By backup, I don't mean players that aren't good enough. I just mean players that naturally, by the way of some of the quality that we've got in the first team, do become backups, but they are competition. I think backups is just kind of that umbrella term, but I agree with your sentiment in the sense that we need to build a competitive squad, and I think that's what Spurs are trying to do, and I think that's why they're getting rid of a lot of these players, because they want to create that competitive environment. Solomon is not a competitive player, right? I don't even think Lo Celso, given his fitness issues, is a competitive player. So I think they want to trim down the squad and make it more competitive and up the overall quality. And if that means sacrificing the size of it, but promoting some of the youngsters at the same time, I think that's a better place for everyone, to be honest. But I get your frustration. I just think in terms of the backup, I'm just using it kind of as a... you know what I mean when I say backup, right? I'm not saying players that clearly aren't good enough, because we've got enough of them and they're the ones that we're trying to ship off. Nick from Ven says the overhaul is great as long as we prioritise improving the first team. We need Champions League money moving forward. I agree with that, and I do think naturally that does come with that. But again, look, Spurs fans don't like being told to be patient, so let's not go down that route. But I do think movements will be made to improve this first team by the end of the window. We've got 3 weeks left. I think we're going to be fine. All right, I do think we're going to be fine. But yeah, let's move on, because we've got some other stuff to talk about, and we're going in for nearly 45 minutes. So massively appreciate you guys spending your lunchtime with me. Massively appreciate it. So Alea Veliz has joined La Liga side Espanyol. How does everyone feel about this loan? Because I think there is an element that maybe people look at Spanish side and think there's a risk of it being another Seville, which I think there is part of that. I'll be honest, I said this in a TikTok yesterday, and guys, sorry, just one more little plug. I'm very close to 30k on TikTok, so if you could go and follow me over there, that'd be massively appreciated. And also the backup account as well. Both links are in the description. And also if you could go and follow me on Twitter as well, that'd be massively appreciated as well. And let's just do a little quick check in case we've missed anything while. No, we're not missing people. That is a gorgeous kit, that, by the way, the Inter Milan. That is absolutely lovely. Sorry, off the cuff, but that is fantastic. I think I might have to buy that, you know. Sorry, just got distracted there looking at Twitter. Beautiful kit. Yeah. I made a video on TikTok yesterday about Alea Veliz, and I just think, look, I don't mean this in any kind of in any bad way to Veliz, and look, I wish him all the best. But I think Veliz will end up being the next Brian Hill. I think this is someone that will almost cart around Europe for the next few years, trying to get him experience and trying to make it work. But I don't see him having a future. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I just think that when you look at someone like Will Lancashire looks... sometimes you can just tell the Will players, right? You can just see it. And I think with Lancashire, you can see it. Veliz, I think, is still incredibly raw. And I just don't see how that rawness... I don't see that. I don't see him maturing into a proper quality Premier League striker. I think the main important thing Veliz can get from this is game time, because he didn't really get any of that at Seville last year. I think he was kind of being used a little bit from the manager to kind of protest against the board. But I think it's just another case of a Brian Hill. And look, I hope I'm wrong, but I just think that Will Lancashire has earned his place in that squad more than him. And I'd much rather keep Will Lancashire around at the club. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Dane Scarlett as well, but I do think Lancashire has kind of zoomed to the top of the pecking order in that aspect. Let's finish up talking about... Oh, this was another interesting thing about Matt O'Reilly being offered to Spurs, but not convinced Tottenham make a move currently. Matt O'Reilly is a very decent player, by the way, at Celtic. LV says, I might be negative, but Lancashire is the truth. I think he's going to be that guy for us. I hope you're right, mate. I think one of the things... I was talking about this... I went to play golf with my mates last night, and me and my mate who's a Spurs fan, we were talking about this, and I do think that with Lancashire, the benefit of having Lancashire, Moore, Donnelly, etc. break through at the same time is that when you make that step up to the first team, it's like you're not alone. You've kind of all come through together, and you're not the outcast. And I think when we had Parrott and Scarlett break through, they were really the only two players from the teams at the time that were breaking through to the first team from the under-21s. And I think that can leave you a bit exposed in a new environment in that first team setup. Whereas you've got Donnelly, you've got Mikey Moore, you've got Lancashire, you've got all of these players coming through, competing for first team minutes at the same time and proving themselves to the manager. And I think that they will all earn that permanent promotion to the first team now. And I think having them all together, I think is great. Because one, they've played with each other as well, of course. They play with each other, which is important. But they've also got allies that they can kind of look around and see that we're all in this together. We're not being exposed, right, by making that step up just on our own. Again, a bit like we're not comparing what Polly Cooper said it there, and we're not comparing the quality of these lads to the class of 92, but you can see what I'm trying to say in the sense that you can see what I'm trying to say in terms of the sense that they've all come up together. which does massively help, and I think it aids them, and I think it helps aid their development in the long run as well. But yeah, we'll very much see what happens with that. I want to finish on this about Harry Kane's return to Tottenham on Saturday. We talked about this yesterday, but we obviously knew that Harry Kane was going to be there. It's how much of a part he played in the game. But Spurs have confirmed this morning that Saturday's clash with Bayern at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium sees the return of Harry Kane and Eric Dyer to N17 for the first time since their departures. Ahead of the game, the pair will be presented with commemorative gifts on behalf of the club by Ambassador Ledley King. So that'll be nice. That'll be a nice moment. I think, obviously, to see Harry on the pitch, regardless of whether he plays or not, I think will be nice. I think this game is kind of for him as much as anything in a way, a little bit. And look, I know I said yesterday in the sense that I've moved on from Harry. I kind of have. Look, I love him so much, obviously, but I think this will be nice. This will be nice. We shall see. Robert says there's data and then there's the eye test. Valise flunks the eye test. I do agree with you, mate. I'm being honest. I do agree. Look, he comes on and causes chaos and can be a bit of a wild card, but I think that's not going to get you that far. Peter Gordon says, big up the videos at this time, trying to get my toddler to nap on holiday gives me something to watch while I'm nap trapped. Appreciate it, mate. George Foster says, the commemorative gift is a £25 voucher to be used in the Spurs store, I bet. Yeah, 10% off Spurs play, you reckon? But yeah, so we shall see. Surrender says Toney is literally better than Solanke, so I couldn't be any happier. Look, Surrender, I don't know if you were here in the start of the stream, but I'll be honest, I'm not buying the Toney stuff. I'm really not buying the Toney stuff. I still think Spurs end up with Solanke. I just think it's all a bit of a game and all a bit of a smokescreen. To be honest. Glenn says prefers Solanke to Toney every day. I'm fully all in on Solanke. And like I said, if you want to go over to my channel and watch this video, I kind of break that down on my thoughts on it. And like I said, massive thank you to all the support on the videos. And that video especially, 15k views that's on now, which is mad. So my best ever video. I feel like these lives, we're getting more people in there all the time, kind of building a nice little community of people here that always come back, and I'm massively grateful for that and all your support. And like I said, we're edging close to 3k subs now, and that's, couldn't have done that without you guys. So I massively appreciate you guys. I love doing these. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, and also, like I said, there might be a video on the channel later, me doing my predictions. We'll see. Just need to film that and edit that. Might be up against it a bit time wise, but if not, that video will be coming in the next few days. And also there'll be a stream tomorrow afternoon where we break down the Tottenham squad for the 24-25 season. We build it together with sales and buys and getting around the homegrown issues and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you come and join me for that tomorrow afternoon. And we will build that together. So nice one, guys. I'm going to go now. I hope you all have a great day. George, I'll see you later at golf if you're still here, mate. Prepared to get smashed. And yeah, nice one, guys. Have a great afternoon. Up the Spurs. I never know when it's actually done on these things. I don't want to cut it off too early. Up the Spurs. Bash, if you're still listening to me.